Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us on tonight on the Speak Well podcast. Tonight is a very exciting night. I am excited to be here. I've missed a couple of weeks, duty calls. I'm trying to find my work life uh balance and all of those things with all of these hats I wear. So sometimes you just have to take a break, right? And you got to know when to take a break, and it's okay to take a break, and don't feel guilty that you had to take a break. um this tonight we're going to be talking about men's mental health, and then Bishop may go into an extension of that. I'm going to let her flow as she chooses, but before I bring her on, I definitely want to I want to introduce her. And she's not new to many of you. Either you've sat up under her preaching or her teaching. She's prophesied to you a time or two, and those things came to pass more times than not, right? And so she's not new. She's a gift to the body of Christ. She's a gift to me, and to my family and to my extended family. We love her so much because she's come in at times where she has had to be a pastor, she's had to be a prophetess, she's had to be the bishop, she's had to be a mediator, she's had to be a voice of reason, she's had to be a therapist, she's had to be the nurse a lot of times. And so she's no stranger to me or my family. She has a very robust background in mental health, health, um Christian studies. I mean, she does a lot. But I just want to read some of just a snippet of what she has done and what she is doing, and I'm sure I won't capture it all. She sent me a little bit of her bio. She left out that she's an author. Yes, she is an author. She's a mother. Absolutely. But let me tell you something. Don't let her preaching fool you. She's from Southwest. Okay. And I think
Deaconess, how
that's
do we share this, Deaconess? I'm trying to share. I'm
so
trying to
go
share.
to you that I should be live on my Facebook page. I should be. If I'm live on my Facebook page,
No, it's not here.
it's not live. Okay. So it told me we would be. Let's see how you could share. What I can do is, let's see. You're right. Facebook. Oh, it says I'm live.
Now it says you're live.
Yeah, so I'm gonna
Now
send
go
you. I'm gonna open this up.
okay.
Edit. It's on privacy. I'm opening it up to public.
Okay.
If you go to my page now, you can share it.
Okay.
It's just the spool is just spinning.
Okay. All right. Now it says it's live now because this is so critical. It's such a critical conversation. I want to make sure that I share it and I tag others
Yes,
and
yes,
get the information out.
yes. And I don't know why it's saying anyone on or off Facebook. Okay. So for whatever reason, Facebook is so temperamental. This is why I always try to stay over on YouTube, because Facebook is telling me that I can't change. Wait a minute. Let's see. Maybe I'm there. It's saying I can't change the settings from private
Well,
to
you did because you're on live on my page now and I shared
okay.
it.
Okay. So as long as you were able to do it, okay. Um,
Yes.
and I don't know why Facebook is doing this, but it's okay. Those who typically watch Speak Well, they know that they can find me a lot of times over on YouTube. So this is definitely critical. Okay, I'm public now.
We're public now. All right. All right, you can carry on. I'm from
Yeah,
Southwest. You can
yeah.
carry on.
Don't be fooled. She is a pastor. She is a prophet, a very accurate prophet. But she's from Southwest. Yes,
Absolutely.
sir, and yes, ma'am. Okay.
Absolutely.
If you've had the opportunity to sit with her, if you've had the opportunity to go anywhere with her, she know everybody. I stopped hanging out with her because they just be interrupting. Like, to be honest, ain't go nowhere with her because she knows somebody know her. You know everything about everything. But but I'm grateful to have her in my life. I always talk about how important it is to have a mentor, to be mentored. But let me pause. Before you can get a mentor and before you can ask for a mentor, you, beloved, have to be mentor ready. And
Yeah.
sometimes you're asking for these things because being mentor ready means that you can move when you're instructed to move.
Yeah.
You're obedient when you're given something to do. And not everybody feels like, people are just like, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, I don't have time. If you don't have time and you know you're not going to do it, you're not mental ready. So just stay on out there until you can until you can figure life out. um
Absolutely.
but again, she's been such a blessing to me and my family. She's my godmother. She's the voice of reason. I can laugh with her, I can talk to her. I can pray with her. She prays with me, she prays for me. She's a secret keeper. She's held all of my secrets. She's seen me win and she's seen me then. I always like to let her tell the parts about me that she loved the most, because she's seen me win. She's seen me when I had it, she's seen me when I didn't have it. She's the one that told me, no, you keep going, you don't stop here. No, you keep going, you don't stop here. No, they can do it, you can do it. Go ahead, Mahogany. No, you gonna do. No, you. No, she has advocated for me when everybody was overlooking me. It was her and it was Bishop Staples to say, no, 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 she can do it. No, she's qualified. No, let her do it. And so you need people in your life. You need people in your corner who got your front, your back, and your side. Um,
Absolutely.
she has an MDiv in mental health therapy. She's a doctoral candidate with a concentration in Christian counseling and marriage and family therapy. She's a member of the National Christian Counselors Association, retired practical nurse, but most importantly, she's a lover of God and his people. If you know anything about her, you know she loves God and she loves people. And I can share this with you all because we all family. So I always say to her, we'll be out and Lord forgive. We'll be out and she'll see somebody and she'll be like, but this gives you a snapshot of who she is. We'll be out and she'll see somebody and I may have a different opinion about what they wore or how they look. And it's really not no shame. She'll just say, babe, you look nice, or son, you look sharp. And I be saying, Mom, why would you telling people that? Because they, but that is that she encourages everybody, right? She encourages everybody, and you need that. And so I am grateful to have her here on tonight. She wears many hats. She's a mother, she's a grandmama, she's an entrepreneur, she has churches, but she decided that, well, I decided at the last minute, you know what? I want Ma to come on and talk about men's mental health. I asked her, she checked her schedule. She couldn't have told me no anyway. I just kept knocking. But here she is. She said, daughter, I'll come. I told her about the topics. She gave me some insight on how we, what to do, where can we start, where can we end. And so again, I'm grateful for her. So without further ado, the Bishop DK Webb. Hey,
Well,
Ma.
thank you so much. Hey, daughter, thank you so much to our lovely host. Anybody know me know I call her my mahogany, Mrs. Yukia Wilson. There's so many things that can be said about her, but we really came on this platform to help you. But I want to say this before we go on. What you see is a survivor. She is a survivor. And as she said, a lot of things that she has survived is because she learned how to take counsel. The Bible says, in the multitude of counsel, there is safety. You're in a safe place because all of us will be prone to making mistakes. And tonight we're going to talk about men and even a lot of mistakes that they make. But we have to be prone. We're prone to make mistakes, but we have to be open to receive correction and to receive direction. And that's something that she's always done. And I am so extremely proud of her. She is a doctoral candidate herself. I am so extremely proud of her. I'm a little uncomfortable talking about myself. I don't talk a lot about myself. Probably they tell me I need to say more and stop shying away from it. But when you see people such as Deaconess Yukia Wilson, and her story, her life story, and to be conceived in prison, to then going to helping prisoners and assisting prisoners, and how God is using her life to even help families, bereaved families. It's a testament to the glory of God, and it's a testament to the hand of God on her life, and that you can't count anybody out. And so we do have this standard joke. I encourage everybody. She said, "Mom, why you tell them people they look good?" I said, "They do, babe, because it ain't all what they have on. It's about their personality, because I'm looking beyond what they're wearing." And so that's what I did. And so, yes, me and she's Bishop Staples' baby. He shared her with me so graciously, and I'm so thankful. But I had to advocate many times, because when people saw her in her den, or she may not have been as mature, they didn't see her value. And a lot of times, deacons, we dismiss people's value. And this is what sometimes we're going to talk about, even that with men. When you dismiss a person's value, you could cause a trigger. Something could happen. And so we need to treat everyone as if they are VIPs. That was what my mother did. We even said it at her funeral. To my mother, everybody was a VIP. You could be standing on the corner begging. She still treats you like you're a VIP, because human life matters and we should value human life. And so, with that being said, now she has this podcast, Speak Well. She's doing wonderful things here and sharing very critical topics that are important to us, because, I'm a firm believer, especially being a retired nurse, in that everything is not all spiritual. We are not all spiritual beings. We are physical beings. We are emotional beings. We have spirit, soul, and body. So we can't attribute everything to the spirit and the anointing. No, we need to address some real life issues, and we need to address some things that we grapple with in our soul, in our mind, in the seats of our emotion. We need to deal with some of these things, and the church world don't like to deal with that, but we'll reserve that for a little later. And so I'm just so proud of you tonight, Deaconess, and thank you for having me on your platform.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining me on tonight. So I compiled a couple of questions, but I know that this is a topic that is dear to your heart.
Certainly.
We've had very very private, intimate conversations about mental health, um,
Yes.
regarding, my family,
Yes.
me going back and forth to PIW and Howard University and um hospital center and different places like that, just doing check-ins.
Yes.
And I'll say this, I'll start by saying this. When you taking a loved one into the hospital for evaluations or for anything, because you know that they're acting a different kind of way, and it's not normal. What I find is that hospitals, I've been going through this since a little girl, but hospitals would turn you away. Bishop Webb taught me the language to use
That's
so
right.
that they can't turn you away,
That's
right?
right.
And so this is why you need someone in your life that is astute in many areas, because you're going to be up against something, you're going to be faced with something, and I'm trying to tell you, it's going to knock you to your knees or drag you on your knees. When I go in, and oftentimes she'll say, when you get there, call me. When you get there, call me. Let me talk to the physician. Let me talk to the nurse. Or this is what you say when you get there. And it's worked every time. I no longer get turned away from hospitals. In fact, they ask me, are you a medical professional? No, I just know what I'm talking about. And I have people who are medical professionals, right? So even when you go in and you make them aware that I ain't to be played with. You ain't gonna send me back and forth. This is a matter of life or death. Literally, it's a matter of life or death. And so she's giving me the language that you use when you go into these places, and it's worked like a charm. So she's been with me through, taking loved ones to get them checked in for mental health evaluation. She's been with me through family members. We were visiting Uncle Anthony. She has a wealth of knowledge in the field of medicine and nursing. I remember being in South Carolina visiting Uncle Anthony. You all know my favorite uncle. He had a brain tumor. So I would ask questions when I was there, and I would call her when we were leaving the hospital, and I would just say, Mom, this is what they said. What do you think? And I don't know if she knows this or not, but she prepared me to be able to prepare my family to be able to say this is probably what this is going to look like, or this is going to be the end result. So
Yes.
each time I've spoken to her, she would, and it's a way she would say it. Well, daughter, that the chances of living with this specific condition is slim to none, but we believe God, right? Each time she's done that. And so out to my surprise, I was already prepared when transition took place, because I knew, just based off of her knowledge, and I knew, again, she was astute. I knew that she was telling me something, that she didn't just get off the top of her head. It was something that she studied. It was something she knew. So she prepared me in so many. She prepared me to grieve. She prepared me for sickness. She prepared me, right? And you need someone to help you prepare. And so I feel like I know on tonight that she's going to prepare many of you to know what signs to look for as it relates to mental health. I like to always say, I want to make mental health and therapy look cool, because
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. Especially men, we've turned that into a stigma. It's not. Talk to somebody, because if you don't talk to somebody, you are wearing everybody around you out, and before you know it, you're gonna be coming one way, and baby, they're gonna be going another way, because they just don't want to deal. And it takes a lot of capacity to deal with men and women who are dealing with a mental illness. And if
Yes, it
you're on the
does.
other side of that, you don't really know that. So on tonight, I'm gonna just start with a couple of questions. And Bishop, if the questions I'm asking is something you want to hold off on for a later hour in the podcast, that's fine. Or you can just kind of go and jump in, because I believe that people are here. They're not here for me. They're here for you. But this is so important, because this is Men's Mental Health Month. June is Men's Mental Health Month. And I encourage you to share this with somebody. Share with your sons, your fathers, your husbands, your co-workers. Men need to hear this. And I also say to her, you always taking up for those men. This is why I know that she was perfect for this conversation, because she speaks and she deals with men with such a nurturing spirit and such a mothering heart, that men need that. And she does an amazing job with it. I'd be sick of her. I just be saying, lady, she, babe, and babe, and I just be sitting there. But that is our mother-daughter relationship. I be lady, but babe, and I just be saying, I don't know no more. Okay, but she does such a good job. And Rick Pringle is here. He's saying, we love you, mama. Take it easy on us. See, he could say that to her, and
Yeah.
she, okay, son, she gonna say, daughter, I got this. What?
But see, you gotta tell the truth. You think I take up for the men, but Rick Pringer's here tonight, and he knows I do get on the men. I get on them even more terribly.
But
When
she might get on them in private. She must get on them in private. She must get on them in private.
everything is not to be said in the open. Some things I do get on them in public. but,
Baby, I don't stand a chance, baby. I'm telling y'all. So I be saying, sometimes I be saying, I say to her, ain't no need me telling you nothing, because first thing you gonna say is I'm wrong in the first place. Just go it on. Don't even worry about it. I'm telling y'all, baby. We
but
give
see,
each other.
that's because, babe. That's because let's start here. That's because when you are informed, and you're educated, you got to remember now, I've been teaching anatomy and physiology for over 30 years to pre-nursing students, medical assistant students. So the structure of the body, I know very well. So look, he's saying it hurts. So when you talk about a man's brain versus a female's brain, men are wired different. In the world neuroscience, neuropsychology, all of us have nerves. We call it synapses in our nervous system. And things snap, snap, snap. But men are wired a little differently than us. And so during the years, studies have proven through numerous outlets, numerous reputable outlets, National Institute of Health, American Psychology Association, all of these people that have studied the brains of men, they have found that men's brain is 10% larger than women. That's first of all. Second of all, they are stronger when you have a back to back connection, when you have front to back connection, when you have different lobes of the brain. Men are stronger from the front to the back. Okay. And one of their differences with women is that they have optimized motor skills, how they move, how to show. In other words, when you are informed and understand that a man may think a little differently, he move a little differently, then if we're going to correct some things, we have to go from that perspective. Now, the possible health impacts of the way he is wired, and this has been studied for decades now, and is still consistently saying that men are more likely to develop alcohol dependence. They're more likely to develop alcohol dependence as opposed to women because of the way their brain is wired. But the part I want to lift that they are 3 times, Deaconess, 3 times, and we may want to even put that in the chat. Men are 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. Antisocial, against society, personality disorder, because of the way they're wired. Antisocial personality disorder.
Say one more time. Men are 3 times more likely to
To
be
develop to be diagnosed, developed and diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder.
okay.
So now they don't have anything to do with them being a male and their X chromosomes and how they're wired. They can't control that, right? So we know that. Then it has been further, yes, that's it. That's correct. Then it has been further said, of course, with all humanity, women and men, we have a part of our brain that's called the prefrontal cortex. This is the area where we get our ration from. Excuse me, whether we're right or whether what we're doing is wrong. Well, through neuroscience, neuropsychology, psychiatry, they found that the brain doesn't really mature until you get between 25 and 30 years old. So you have a lot of men, even though they get to a certain age and think they're grown, they still aren't mature. And it seems that we are more advanced because they seem that they're making decisions that seem so, we call it dumb, we call it immature. We have a plethora of choice of words for it. But a lot of times because their brain really haven't matured, they haven't gotten there. So that's a factor, right? So he's 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. Now, we call antisocial personality disorder, Deacon, sociopathy, right? And this is where you get the term when you say people are sociopaths, okay? And that's the mental health condition where people show a disregard. It's a disregard for right and wrong. And so you find that a lot with the men and the rights and feelings of others. And I'm going to come back to that because I want the people to understand that. So when you look at the man's brain, and let's couple that within the world of psychiatry, psychology, mental health, we have a term we use, ACEs. It's more modern than it was when I came through even in nursing in the 70s. But it's adverse childhood experiences. And so when you have a man who, first of all, he's 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. Then the second thing, he has experienced some adverse childhood experiences, such as neglect, abuse, traumatic childhood experiences. When you think about Deaconess, when you know these men, and this is why I talk to the men and treat them with such a nurturing, loving environment, because a lot of these men are from underprivileged. They haven't been treated, so they untreated, underprivileged, impoverished areas. Mm-hmm. So you look at these kids nowadays acting out on the street, robbing, killing people, all these things. No regard for life. Why? Because they see so many dead people on the street. This is an adverse childhood experience. They've seen their mothers and their fathers. You remember the movie years ago, Sugar Hill? I know you're an old-time movie buff.
Yep.
Well, Sugar Hill with Wesley Snipes and his brother.
They washed them up.
Exactly. That's what drove them. Wesley Snipes was a smart kid. He was a kid that was on his way to scholarship to Georgetown. But because of his adverse childhood experiences, seeing his mother shooting up and in the corner and nodding, seeing his father, all of these things now are affecting their brain. And so in the hippocampus, the memory part is being embedded in there. And so you have now, he's 3 times more likely to be antisocial. You have him where he's experienced all of these adverse, all these ACEs, these adverse childhood experiences. And then what does that mean? There's an American psychologist years ago who wrote, and many of you know, and if you ever taken psychology in school, Maslow hierarchy of needs. Maslow did a pyramid. And he said, because he was a psychologist and he's looking at why people are doing what they're doing, and he's saying with the hierarchy of needs, one of the issues are the basic need in that pyramid is physiological. The things that deal with food, water, shelter, clothes, sleep. Well, deaconess, when you look at a man as a child, as a young teenager, everybody has been selling drugs in the area in which he live. He live in a food desert. We don't even have grocery stores. You don't have money for clothes. You don't have money for food. You're fighting peer pressure. People have things that you don't. Your family, you go home, you're getting put out every other 6 months because your parents can't pay the rent because they're on drugs. All of these are compilation of things. And so now you have this woman that comes into his life. And a lot of times she try to fix him. You can't fix what's embedded in his memory without informed information. You need informed information. And so what happens, you have a lot of failed relationships because women, because of our need to prove our point, because women, our female brain, we got stronger side-to-side connections, even though we're more twice as likely to have depression. But with women, now we're triggering him because what are we doing? We're telling him, you need to go get a job. You need to go, we need to pay this bill. You need to do this. This is triggering his adverse childhood experiences. And so now we got trouble in the relationship. And so what happens with this compilation of things? Nobody is addressing his ACEs, his adverse child. And it's not making an excuse. It's reality. It's fact. Nobody's addressing his ACEs. Nobody is addressing his brain and how he's wired. Nobody is addressing he has been untreated with all of the basic physiological needs that he needed. He has been untreated because he got angry his family didn't have food. Mm-hmm. He was mad that his baby sister or baby brother didn't have diapers. And a man is built to conquer. He has to feel like he can accomplish. And so he has people telling him you can't accomplish. He can't go to school and concentrate because, again, it's embedded now in his memory, in his hippocampus, all these adverse childhood experiences. And that's what happened to Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes in the movie Sugar Hill, he said, forget Georgetown. He has a full scholarship. Yeah. Because my daddy, he's saying he's trying to get off dope. And the only way we're going to get out of this impoverished, underprivileged situation, we're going to have to go do what we know we can do. We can sell drugs. And so for us, and I want to say this, Deaconess, because it's critical, we must understand, because when you talk about adverse childhood experiences, and nowadays we have incorporated more trauma-informed care. That's another area that I'm trained in. Trauma-informed care doesn't say why you did it. Trauma-informed care say, tell me what happened to you. Because we need to stop judging people, because when you start talking to a lot of these young people, they haven't been in a nurturing, loving environment. They have been deprived of the basic physiological needs, water, food, shelter. They have not been taught. They don't want to talk about, and it's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing with people of color. We stigmatize mental health for so long because we would say, I'm not crazy. When I worked in St. Elizabeth, we don't use that term. We're forbidden from using that term. We have people who are in care on the road to recovery, because everybody can recover. Mm-hmm. But when you have the compilation of all these, you have people who are not informed, so they can't provide trauma-informed care. So nowadays in medicine, where practitioners now are becoming more astute about trauma-informed care, as opposed to culturally, as soon as you see a child of color come in your office and the parents say they're having some issues with them, with their personality, well, if you already knew that they are 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, then you wouldn't be so quick. You would sit down and begin to have a conversation with them. Mm-hmm. And see, that's Bishop's approach when I talk to these men. That's my approach when I talk to the women. Well, let's talk about what he's dealing with, because sometimes they have not gotten what you've gotten. They cannot process it the way you're processing it. They can't deal with it the way you deal with it. And so now here's a woman. I don't know what you're going to do. And I'm tired of putting up most of the money. And I'm tired. Now, what are you doing? You're deflating his ego because he has an ego. You're making him feel like he can't accomplish. And that's triggering something in him because somebody told him he couldn't. He couldn't do it anyway. And even when you have men, you go, Deaconess, I want to go all the way back. And I'm going to give you an example of even a scholarly article that I wrote. But you go all the way back, even men in the military. Mm-hmm. You look at Deaconess, when you talk about the Tuskegee Airmen, when you talk about our military people, for years they weren't even acknowledged, even though they put their life on the line out there because they were considered less than a human. And so men we've been grappling with, we need to be recognized as a man. We need to be recognized as a human. We need to be recognized as an equal. And then we came down the line in the 20th century and women, we couldn't even vote. Thank God for Eleanor Roosevelt, because they said we couldn't even think. We just couldn't, no need of even sitting us at the table. So thank God we've come a long way from all of that. So when you look at Deaconess, you got a man in his brain, neuropsychologically, neuroscientifically. This is not him. He has nothing to do with it. It has to do with his X chromosomes. His rationalizing doesn't really mature and develop until he's at least 25 to 30 years old. Okay? You got him. He's grown up in an environment that's underprivileged, which most African-American men were, unless they nowadays is far different. But we have to realize, Deaconess, what we're dealing with is generational issues. And so when you have these kids, I shared it with a group maybe a couple of years ago in a church setting. I said, you all have to realize you can't just deal with this generation, 16, 17-year-olds. If we're going to talk about it, we need to go back to the crack pandemic. Because you got to realize that from the 80s, a lot of people that got addicted to crack and got pregnant and had babies. Mm-hmm. By the early 2000s, these children were 19, 20. They had babies. They were never properly prepared. They had babies. And now a lot of these kids, 16 and 17, are their babies. It's generational. It's a compilation because all of them have been untreated. Mm-hmm. All of them, when we're helping people to get free from addictions, we also have to deal with, Deaconess, what happened to you. ACEs, we need to deal with that. And so in St. Elizabeth's, when I say cultural, of course, we dealt with many patients, and one of them, one of the most famous around the world. I couldn't say his name, of course, when he was there because that's patient privacy. Mm-hmm. But the whole world knew who he was. But he was on the road to recovery. And some people would ask me, are you afraid of him? I said, no, because he's been on medication 30-some years. He's on the road to recovery. Now he acts just as normal as you and I. It show you anybody can recover. But when you don't look at cognitive behavior, cognitive, Deaconess, is an awareness. We have to make you aware of why people are doing what they're doing. Well, men don't like to talk, right? Because they'll hide behind the wall. I'm a man. You don't talk to me like that. I'm a man. Where women, our brain is wide. No, we need to talk about it. We need to talk about it. We need to have a conversation because we aren't going to get any further if you're being silent. Well, sometimes, Deaconess, they're being silent because they're trying to process it. The hippocampus, the memory bank, everything here is now, some of it is re-traumatizing him. His mind is going through some of the things that he's gone through that he couldn't handle, that made him make the bad decisions that he made. So he can't handle that. So now what is happening? The woman is traumatizing. She's re-traumatizing because there you trigger me. So what do I want to do? I want to get out your presence. I want to get away from you. And what do they say? You badgering me. Mm-hmm. You're getting on my nerves.
Yeah.
You know, you're not my mother, you know, because, and especially if you talk to somebody, Deaconess, who have been incarcerated. Mm-hmm. Let's deal with that because that's part of when you look at the and I'm going to read specifically for you so I can tell you exactly. There's a whole list, Deaconess, of symptoms for and this is from the APA, American Psychological Association. Mm-hmm. A person, remember, man, 3 times likely, right, to be diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. Well, the symptoms are, Deaconess, first is ignoring right and wrong. Mm. So when you telling them you wrong, he ignoring you. He's ignoring you. You don't tell me what's right or wrong. because you don't rule me. You don't control me. And this is why society then puts him in a controlled environment, prisons, so they can control him because he will ignore right and wrong. Secondly, Deacon, is a symptom, telling lies to others to take advantage of them. Well, we call these men, especially streetwise men, manipulators. They lie to all these different women. They lie to keep cover. They lie to keep doing the dirt they doing. They lie. Deaconess, this is a proven physiological issue.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, not being sensitive to or respectful to others. And you find this a lot with men because we'll feel they're being insensitive. Well, you're not even thinking about me and how I feel. What about how I feel? What about how I want? Because all you got on your mind is the 3-letter word. And once you get that, you find, but what about how I feel? I feel like a used rag doll. I feel like you don't communicate. I feel like you don't want to talk to me. I feel like you're just using me up. All of these conversations that couples have in relationships, right? The next thing, Deaconess, is using charm or wit to manipulate others for personal gain or pleasure. So what do? We find a lot of them become drug dealers. We find a lot of them get into the illicit field of crime because they use that wit. They know how to manipulate people. They know how to talk.
Bishop, give us an example of that. I feel led to ask you to give us an example of men who have that, because many women are stuck in that, right? You know, they may label it as something else, but give us an example of that type of man and what she should look for in that type of man before you move on.
I'm gonna give you that, but let me finish the list because it's gonna help you.
Okay.
Having a sense of superiority and being extremely opinionated. So you say something, he's so extremely opinionated. What you saying, he don't even listen to your opinion because your opinion don't count. Okay. And with him, I'm superior because why? I'm a man. Okay. So I'm not listening to you. You don't know what you're talking about. Next problem, and then I'm gonna address one. I'm gonna bring it all together. Having problems with the law, including criminal behavior. So Yvette Alexander wrote a book, The New Jim Crow, the beginning of the century. And Yvette Alexander did an extensive study on prisoners and men of color. And she attributed it to the large number of people of color in the prisons was the new Jim Crow. Can't lynch you no more on a tree, but we can lynch you legally. So they have problems with the law, including criminal behavior. They are known to be hostile, aggressive, violent, or threatening to others. So what you have, domestic violence, domestic abuse. You aren't going to leave me. Nobody else is going to have you. Feeling no guilt about harming others. So what do you have? These kids on the street killing people, carjacking people, murdering people, and don't have no guilt. Going to court with no remorse. They have no guilt. Doing dangerous things with no regard for safety of others. What are we doing? We're out there and we're speeding out on the highway. We're stealing cars and we're speeding and putting people's lives in jeopardy. We're carjacking and we're putting people's lives in jeopardy. Or being irresponsible and failing to fulfill work or financial responsibilities. So who may that man be? That's a man that, and you know me, Deaconess, I tell women we have to take responsibility for this, because a lot of times we get so desperate that we don't want to be alone that sometimes the signs are there. We don't want to see it. So when you have a man, women, when you first meet him, he don't want to work, he don't have a job, and don't get enamored with these street guys, because as many of the movies tell you, nobody in the street like Ghosts on Power. Y'all gonna have to forgive me and Deaconess tonight because we do watch other TV shows.
Yes, we do.
But Ghosts in Power says nobody gets old selling drugs. Nobody. You're even in prison and you're gonna die there, or you're gonna die on the street. So you got a man, Deaconess, you meet. First thing you need to find out, does he work? And he may be somebody that's in between jobs. That's okay. But don't immediately bring him into your world until you see something about him, Deaconess, psychologically, how he processes things. Okay, he doesn't work, so he got a lot of time on his hands. So now he want to demand of you and your time, and you got a job. That's the flag. That's the flag. But you want a man in your bed at night. You want a warm body. So you invite him to your house. Now, you ignored the sign. He really don't want to work. He do a little street pharmaceutical stuff. He really don't want to work. He like to lay in the bed till 12 o'clock while you at work. Then he's pretty possessive because he wants your time and don't have no regard. Because remember, that's one of the things. I'm not sensitive or respectful of what you have to do. You have no regard for that. Well, you must not really like me. You don't have time for me. So now you're trying to modify your life to fit their schedule. Okay? Then that's the second sign you ignore. Then the third sign, he comes and then you got a child or two children. Your child may drop something on the floor. It's not even his child. And he grabbed the child and said, don't you know you need to pick that up? Definitely not. You don't let them correct your child and touch your child. You don't let them do that. Because that's the third sign. They're being hostile. They're being aggressive. That's the third sign. Then, Deaconess, same man you're dealing with, then you introduce him to your parents. Now, we know people of color. You've been taught how to say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. Mm-hmm. I introduce you to my parents, to your spiritual parents. No respect. How you doing? Looking the other way. Respect says look people in the eye and speak to people, make eye-to-eye contact. You go in the court, you can't look at the wall when you saying yes, your honor. So now you got to disrespect. You're disrespectful. You don't find a problem with it. Trigger number 4. Why would you want to get involved with him? Then trigger number 5. Now he's going to use and manipulate you. Well, you know, I got other women that want me and I could be with somebody else, but I chose to come over here and be with you. And now you acting like you got a problem. And I thought you was ready to be with me. And yeah, I know you got children, but I can't come over here every time I turn around. I come over here and these kids, and you always talking about you got things to do with your kids and you got this and that and the other to do. Now you again modifying your schedule. Modify. Well, no, please don't do that. You can still come to the house. Why don't you just come at 9? I'll have them to bed. So what you do? Creating adverse childhood experiences for your children. Because now you're going around the house hollering and screaming at your children. Get ready to go to bed. You better go to bed or I'm going to beat you. Because really, in your mind, you're trying to see this man. Mm-hmm. And you still ignoring the signs of antisocial personality disorder. You're hollering and screaming at the kids. Now the kids getting nervous problems. Because every time they turn around, they trying to understand why you always hollering and screaming. And if you say our bedtime is 9, why you screaming at me at 8:15? But mommy, you said I go to bed at 9. I know what I said. Get your scoop. Just hollering and screaming. Okay? That's a direct result, Deaconess, of you trying to now fall within the confines of his manipulative behavior so you can have a warm body. And then I'm going to leave it with those 5. That's just, I'm going to leave it with those 5. So then what happens, Deaconess? We then start getting more involved because we've gotten our emotions, because now we got soul ties when we lay together. We got soul ties. And now I've taken on some of his spirit. And I don't even know it's antisocial personality disorder. I've taken on some of his spirits. Next thing you know, I'm being disrespectful to my parents. I'm being disrespectful to my friends. I got disregards for my friends, people that's been my friends all along. Now, next thing you know, we getting into arguments because your friend might say, I don't know about him. Well, girl, you just jealous. And I don't know what you're talking about. Now you're becoming extremely opinionated. I don't know what you're talking about because I remember when you was talking to so-and-so and I didn't say anything to you because they are determined they want to be with this man. That's when you got to pull back because that person don't want to hear. And we start out talking with taking counsel. That person doesn't want to hear. Well, now she's gotten involved with this man that got antisocial personality disorder. Now, it depends on to what degree of his aggression he's at. This is where you find, because a lot of women have lost their lives. See, it was a compilation. It didn't just start from the beginning, but she ignored the signs. It was a compilation. Then the next thing you know, he knows that you have adjusted your life, adjusted your schedule for me. I go there when I get ready. Now, Deaconess, you've given him a key to your place that you're paying rent for. So now he can come, go as he pleases. So now he's getting possessive, right? He's getting possessive because antisocial. I'm against society and nobody's going to take from me what's mine. You, my woman. Because what? I control you now. Remember, if I got antisocial personality disorder, I need to have control. I ignore right from wrong. You my woman. You're not going to leave me. Nobody's going to have you. And then the next thing you know, Deaconess, you got domestic violence. And the woman has lost her life. So what have you done, Deaconess? You have continued the cycle of adverse childhood experiences. Because guess what? Your children have been a witness to many of these incidents, many of your arguments, many of the situations. And now your children have to live with their mother was killed by a man. That's an adverse childhood experience. Now this man grows up and he gets a girlfriend. His mama was killed by a man and the girlfriend trying to control him. Well, in his hippocampus, in his memory, no, this man controlled my mother. What you not going to do? You're not going to control me. You're not going to control me because I see how it ends. I saw how it ended. You're not going to control me. You're not going to tell me what to do. And remember, Deaconess, he already neuropsychologically, neuroscientifically, in his brain, the way he's wired, right? He is 3 times more likely to have antisocial personality disorder, and he already has these adverse childhood experiences, and he has already been deprived of his basic needs when he was a child. And now you coming into the situation and you want to be the Pooh Bear because you laid with him. And I preached a message years ago. He can love it and don't love you.
Yeah.
You need to put that in the chat. I preached a message years ago and people said, oh, that's terrible. Don't nobody preach like that. Well, I preach what God gave me. He can fall in love with it and it don't have a face. So that's why he can lay with you and never look at your face. Because he's used to being superior, personal gain of pleasure. I do what I want to do. And I don't care how her face look. I don't care how her face look. Because all its look the same. So I will manipulate you. I will use you. I will use your car. I will use your house. I will use your keys. I will use your money. I will use your job. Why? Because I really got antisocial personality disorder. I'm not cognitively aware. I am not aware. Nobody has talked to me and told me that I need to start dealing with the awareness of myself and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so in St. Elizabeth, swinging back, there was a psychologist very dear to me. He's gone on to sleep now. And so he decided, you know what? We need to start an African-American cognitive behavioral therapy group because we need to deal with things culturally. And one of the things we did, Deaconess, when we first started the group, which became very successful, and we found that the patients were recovering even at a more rapid rate. And we chose the patients that would come in. Patients that came in, Deaconess, were murderers. They were men who had committed crimes 40 years prior, as small as stealing a loaf of bread, and went ballistic when they tried to lock them up and they put in a mental health institution. But one of the first things we did, Deaconess, we created a timeline. Everybody that came in that class, we said, we're going all the way back to as far as you can remember. Let's write a timeline. Because what is that doing? That's trauma-informed care. Let's look at, we don't worry about what you did. Because first of all, it's on record what you did. But we want to know why you did it. And we want to help you come to an awareness of why you men, why? Because most of the men that were men, very few women, why you did what you did. Let's make you more aware. Because if we make you more aware why you did what you did, we can help you on the road to recovery and let you know it's okay. You don't have to be concerned about the stigma of mental health disorders and mental health diseases. And I used to always tell my patients, look, just like the body gets sick, the mind gets sick. The mind is part of the body. The mind gets sick. It's okay. And just like the body for diabetes, hypertension, whatever, we give you medicine. It's okay to take medicine when your mind is sick. So when we started having them to do that, we found great success in that. I'm going to pause here, Deacons, because, I'm talking about something very passionate about. I could go on and on.
Yeah, this dialogue is, and I'm going to use a word. And I'm not even using the word in the context that we use it when we're talking about church, but this is a deep dialogue. And I'm looking at the chat and the chat is going off. It's necessary. This conversation is necessary. Um, what I find is that some of what you're saying, some of these things we've heard before, but never broken down.
Yeah.
And
And
so
well,
we
you know,
may
I'm
have,
an educator. I believe in educating people.
yes, yes. So as for me, and I can speak for some of my girls here, this conversation is necessary for now. You know, you go through so much in your 20s and you learn how to just go through life and just cope. But
Yeah,
then when you get to your 30s and 40s, you're like, wait a minute, I need to revisit some of this stuff again. And this is an awakening for some of us. This is a light bulb because some people are in these situations and are stuck. They dealing with somebody with a mental illness and it done made them mentally ill, right? You
absolutely.
staying in it for so long.
Absolutely.
While I was listening to you talk, and I know many of these characteristics can fit any man, but I wanted you to talk about the mental illness in fathers. Um, how critical is it for fathers to seek help? Whether you have a child who is 6 months, 16, 42. And I like to ask that because of course, some people don't know that I was conceived in prison. Whatever reasoning my father was there for, I'm sure that he suffered. As I got older and started to spend time with him, I realized that there was some mental illness there with him as well. But but our relationship, we couldn't really find a connection. Up in maybe a couple years before he passed, we were able to connect, but we bumped heads so much, and it was because him he was a lot of the characteristics that you mentioned. He would always toss the Bible at me, like his favorite scripture was, kid, honor your mother and 5 your days to be longer. At that didn't matter.
Manipulation. Manipulation.
That's exactly what it was. And I was young enough to even understand that that's what it was. So it was like, yeah, I know all that. But where were you? Yeah, I know
Yeah,
all that. But you in Lord again. Yeah, I know all that. But you can't help me get out of you. So fathers also manipulate their kids into
absolutely.
giving
Absolutely.
and don't then make you feel bad if you don't want to do it or be bothered. And
Absolutely.
definitely talk to the women because I have a lot of women here who have fathers that they're just like, you know what? I got my own kids. I ain't about to deal with you. You've talked to me any kind of way. You did X, Y, and Z. So just tell us what talk to men who are fathers that have them things going on, and then talk to the children that have fathers and tell them how they can deal with that. Is it just you throw up your hands? Because if we the daughter, you can't tell them nothing.
No, no. Well, let me address the first part of your question. First of all, with men, and I like to say this to the men, don't blow your witness in front of your children, especially if you're a man of God and you're in the church. So we're going to talk about you, a man in church. Don't try to manipulate scripture to justify your behavior. If you're a father who's not in church, your daddy could use the Bible because he was raised in the church, so he knew the book. He knew it. And so, with your children, fathers, one of the first things you have to do once you come to an awareness of where you went wrong, and yes, you had some ACEs, and yes, things happen with you, but what you're trying to do is prevent generational curses. You're
Mm-hmm.
trying to stop it. You're trying to stop it at you. You know the things you didn't get, so you want to provide it to your children. And so you have to be the bigger one and bring in the bridge and connect. And you do that by, first of all, saying, I'm sorry. I didn't know how to be a father. It's okay to admit as parents when we're wrong. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to be a parent. I didn't have it, but that's no excuse. Now I'm trying to be better. Can we work at it? That's first of all, because that's cognitive. That's cognition. That's saying I have an awareness now and I don't want to stay like this and I want to improve it. Not try to blame your children
Mm-hmm.
for what you put them through because it wasn't the child's fault. You created adverse childhood experiences for them. So that's the first thing. The father has to be aware and apologize to that child. When you get grown like you and your father, going button back and forth. But you kid, if I haven't been educated, and that's a lot of times where I break things down, of course, because I've been an educator a long time. When I haven't been made aware of what I'm dealing with, and I haven't been made aware that there is some treatment for it, what? I'm gonna listen to you and tell me something wrong with me. I don't know what you're talking about. So they're not gonna listen to you about going and getting help, but find somebody you trust that maybe they will trust, that you know, okay, I need them to talk to like a Bishop Staples. That's why they love him.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not in the church, I need him to talk to somebody. He don't have to know that person is a psychotherapist, a mental health
Yes.
therapist. They don't have
Yes.
to know they're professional. I need them to talk to them because I know they got a way of dealing with people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to reach people who are from underprivileged, impoverished areas, uneducated, unlearned, you got to have people who are culturally sensitive.
Yes.
Cultural sensitivity is critical.
Yes.
You can't talk to people and you don't have no relation to their culture.
Yes.
It's like I heard, I think it was Denzel Washington one time, and he was talking about, culturally, we can relate to a hot straightening comb on the back of our neck and getting our neck burnt and where we have our European counterparts, they have no relation to that.
Mm-hmm.
Getting nappy head straightened out. They have no relationship to when I was little Bergamot grease and Royal Crown.
Yeah. Yeah.
and cooking our hair.
Yeah.
So that may be why now we've come into an era now where women of color, we wear more wigs and weaves than a little bit because what? It's in our hippocampus. Ain't nobody gonna put no more hot straightening comb on my head. That ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen.
I got so many burned strawberries in the back of my neck.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So we have to be wise. And you know me. That's one thing I tell you, especially y'all wise. My scriptures, Proverbs 14:1. Every wise woman buildeth her home.
Yes.
First of all, if you in the house and you're shacking, that's one thing, that's issues. And even if you're married, though, you got to use the wisdom and pray to God, who do I go to that I could talk to, that I know this man will respect? Because I need somebody to talk to him to make him aware.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're making him aware, you're not accusing him.
Mm-hmm.
You're using trauma-informed care. Why you do this? Why you talk to her like that? Why you say that to her? We're not doing that. Mm-hmm. What happened? Talk to me, babe. What happened? Are you okay? Mm-hmm. What happened? Tell me something about your child. Because what the person is doing who is trained with processing what they're saying, so then they can come back and give you the information and tell you how to deal with it.
Yes.
Most of all, we don't want you to re-traumatize them. Mm-hmm. So don't bring up triggers. And it's not to say that you're not right. But wisdom is knowing what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. Mm-hmm. It's not saying that you aren't right and what you need to address. It's just not the time yet.
Yes.
So then you go to God and you say, especially if you're a woman of God and you know how to pray, you go to God and say, God, you can make this man do what I can't make him do. You need to make him aware of how he's traumatizing me, how he's traumatizing the children, what he's doing. God, you need to give him some sense in his head because he ain't even thinking. And now I got in my mind, okay, antisocial personality disorder. This is intrinsic in men, at least 3 times likely to be diagnosed with it. So he's acting a little antisocial and he's trying to manipulate the situation. Okay, God, I need you to fix all that because you can go beyond medicine. I need you to fix all that. Mm-hmm. Then you will find men like we did with a lot of my patients when we did the cognitive behavioral therapy. They come in a group the next week and say, you know what? I was sitting in my room and I was thinking about what we were talking about. I need to take responsibility for that because, one man we had, he chopped somebody's head off. He said, I can really admit I was angry and I didn't have to go that far with what they did to me. So it's about making people aware with that father and fathers, any fathers listening to me, when you got to reconcile with your children, you go tell your children you're sorry, you were wrong. You didn't know how to do it. You weren't taught how to do it, but you're trying to be a better father so you can be a better grandfather to your grandchildren and to help however you can. Taking responsibility, being accountable. That's the beginning, Deaconess, of the change. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. And then the second part, you asked me about the children. Was that the second part you asked me about the children? How you deal with the fathers?
Yes. Yes, how should children deal with their fathers without
you get very frustrated. You get very frustrated with that. You can get very frustrated. You can get exasperated. You can just get so worn out trying to talk to them. They want to battle back and forth. Now, my key to that, Deaconess, and I used to say this to you, even with your daddy. Okay, let's first, I'm not saying he wasn't wrong. You know, I would always preface stuff with you because you say, bah. No, I'm not saying they wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
Listen to me. I said, look at the positive of, because this is his way of trying to show you. Something that your daddy always did that I loved. And that was his way of showing you love. He would show up where he knew you were. He would show up at that church. And he would let everybody know you his daughter. My daughter go to this church. That's taking ownership who you are. That's his way of letting you know how he love you, how he's proud of you. Now, I don't know how to fix all the wrong I did. But I'm trying to, because what? This triggering something good in me, because my mama raised me in church and I went wayward. But I see you trying to follow that. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
So he would show up, and this is the part I love, because he's always sharp. He want to take pictures. He want to take pictures. Take some pictures. This is my daughter. People walk down the hall. This is my daughter. This is my daughter. So that was his way of showing you love. So when we focus on the positive, then we got to start building, like building blocks. Let's focus on the positive, because that was your daddy's way of showing you he loved you.
Yeah, and I wanted to address that too. That was also his way. He never told me that he was proud of me until we started to bond, because not only did he come there and say, you know, y'all know my daughter, where my daughter. He would come into the restricted areas before they got locks on the doors. He would go in the back and say, my daughter back here, because I know he would walk, and they knew, they didn't give him no problems, because they knew he was my dad. They knew I wanted to build this relationship, but he was so proud of me. He would say, you know, Kia, I'm so glad you in church. I'm so glad to find you here. That is what he was proud of. And so when he transitioned, I believe, and you know, for the sake of clarity, she's speaking about my biological father. You know, I always say God must have known that I was going to be special, because I have my biological father, who is Al. I have my stepfather, who is James. Then I have Bishop Stable. I have so many fathers, because I am
great father.
So my biological father would come, and they all loved me. They all supported me. They all thought I was the best thing. They loved me. So I didn't start getting reaffirmed by my fathers until I kind of got older. But this is why I'm in a space of being healed and whole, because that was missing.
So we have to focus on that, Deaconess, the positive. It doesn't always look like we want it to look. It's just like when we're treating patients who are on the road to recovery. We will celebrate every little step. So when you come in the meeting, you say, I realize that. We say, oh, that's wonderful. That's the first step to recovery. That's the first step to becoming better. Because now cognitively, you have become more aware. And so you got to start trying to change your behavior, because it's all behavioral related, Deaconess. It's all behavioral related. And we must understand that all of our behaviors affect other people's behaviors. It's a snowball effect, right? And so it's contagious. It's like you should always tell people they look good. So I like to spread joy. I like to spread hope. So it's contagious. It's the same way when it's adverse. And that's what's happening to a lot of these kids on the street. It's a contagion. Because if I keep seeing people dead on the street, why I think I'm going to live till I'm 20? I'm no different. I live in the neighborhood. Why I think if I live in an apartment that my parents can only afford, why would I think something's different? I wrote a scholarly article, Dika. I want to get to this, and then we're going to continue. I was chosen to represent at St. Elizabeth once a year. They would have a large conference there. Psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, art therapists, anybody that's involved in the care of individuals with mental health disorders. I was chosen as a professional chaplain to do a demonstration, because now I'm connecting spirituality and mental health disorders. And this is a good segue for us to even deal with the spiritual side of it. And so I had several patients that I would do one-on-ones with, and I chose one who was of Jewish descent. That was my patient, because culturally I know African American, but I want to look now at Jewish descent. How did they get here? And then once I looked at that, I went back to culturally, for us as a people, what happened to our people and why did we get so stigmatized? What happened to us? Because when I grew up, in the late 50s and the 60s, our culture, we were bonded, we were family, we were connected because you had a lot of civil unrest, right? We're trying to gain our rights, which led to the Civil Rights Act. So I did a scholarly article, Deaconess, and I still have it. And many of my colleagues said, Chap, you need to write a book on this. And my basis was from a book that a psychiatrist many years ago, Dr. Jonathan Metzl, he wrote a book and he talked about protest psychosis. And he looked at, Deaconess, this place that used to be a hospital, and it turned into a prison. And his thing was, why and how did schizophrenia become a Black disease? Schizophrenic. And so when I looked at our patients, our individuals in care, and many of them diagnosed with schizophrenia, I began to write an article and said, this psychosis, is not just because they have been labeled as schizophrenic, but they're not really schizophrenic. What they were doing were protesting against your labeling them, unlawfully keeping them locked in a room, and they're in a hospital where they're supposed to get quality health care, that they start reacting and responding. Because what are you doing, Deaconess? If I'm in a hospital or healthcare setting, you are literally chaining me. You are putting me in bondage when you put me in a room where I've come to get help. It got so huge that the hospital, they turned it into a prison and diagnosed all these men of color with schizophrenia. That was a misdiagnosis. Because at the time, we would put them on Prozac. That was the drug of choice. Thorazine, Prozac. You see a lot of movies, they walk around like zombies. So why? Because it would go back culturally, even to slavery. He has this Mandingo figure. He's towering over us. He's strong. He's muscular. So we have to emasculate him. We have to make him less than a man. How can we do it? Through medicine. So what are we going to do? As opposed to treating him, we're going to now say he's schizophrenic and put him in a mental health hospital. But guess what? We have no more mental health hospital because now they become criminals within the hospital, and they turned it into a prison. And so you find that a lot of times, Deaconess, that we are also misdiagnosed.
Yes.
Because we haven't been made aware. And because people are not learned about trauma-informed care, not why you do it, but what happened to you, that we don't have to put them on so many psychotropic drugs. But a lot of times we start giving them some therapy, some cognitive behavioral therapy. Let's talk about it. Let's talk through some things. Let's go back to your adverse childhood experiences. Let's talk through some things. Now, if you're not trained in that, and you the woman, I see this question, when do you know to get out of a marital situation? I say to anybody, of course, if you are at risk of danger, you have to do it wisely. You don't just walk. You plan your exit.
Mm-hmm.
You don't stay in something like that. Okay? That's first of all. You don't just go to somebody, which a lot of women do. I'm leaving you. No. You reach out to the domestic abuse hotline. You plan your exit. You talk. This is the key, Deaconess. This is the key. Talk to somebody that is learned and trained. This is where we're going to segue even to the church. When you're talking to people that's not learned and trained, they give you just off-the-cuff advice, swearing they're right, know what they're doing, and put you at greater risk. So you have to talk to people who are learned and trained, plan your exit. Do not walk out of a situation when you see he has things like that. Then secondly, talk to somebody that can help you to know how to communicate with him. Make sure if you see some signs of antisocial personality disorder, you aren't a doctor, you aren't trained, you don't have a trained eye, but you see some of the things I mentioned, then you don't go around trying to diagnose him. But what you're going to do now is try to deal with him in a wiser sense. Because why? I don't want to re-traumatize. I don't want to bring up some of these childhood experiences that were adverse in his life. The neglect, neglect, the mother on drugs, the father on drugs, the children didn't eat for days, the trauma, and all the things he had to go through, the abuse. Let's not forget, Deaconess, even some of the men who, live in an alternative lifestyle. A lot of them, you find out they were abused by family members because
Yes.
parents left them in neglectful situations and family members abused them. And so now we go around and judge them. That's a shame. They going to hell. They gay. Well, I mean, I'm sorry, beloved, to tell you tonight, but all sin is sin. All sin is sin. I don't care what it is. So we can't look down on them because we don't know what happened.
What happened? We don't
What
know what
happened. So we have to do that. Okay, if it's not dangerous, all the other traits, and they're unwilling to get help. First of all, if you are untrained, again, remember what I said. Do not create triggers for him. Don't create. You can't make grown people do anything. That's first of all. Second of all, remember antisocial behavior. I'm in denial. I ignore what you say. I have no respect for it. I feel like you don't know what you're talking about anyway. So I have a blocker. I don't receive you. I don't know who this person is, KTG. Jay, I'm sorry. But you know me, Deaconess, one of the first things I'm going to tell you, you got to learn how to pray. You got to learn how to pray because prayer changes things. Second of all, you're not the one that keeps badgering them and telling them you need to get some help. You need to go get some help. Third of all, don't become such an enabler. When they telling you or trying to make you feel guilty or trying to manipulate you with things, then you try to make them see, okay, honey, I know what you're saying. You need me to do this, but I need you to consider this. We got 3 small children. I'm really tired. Can you help me today? Just start integrating it. Don't do it every day. Just start integrating it. And if you know this person, you married to this person, you know their good days and their bad days. Catch them on that good day. You know what, honey? I'm really tired today. I usually do all this, but I need your help. Can you help me? Sometimes they're not even aware because why? If they're suffering from antisocial personality disorder that's never been diagnosed, they don't acknowledge it. It's untreated. But if you say, you'll never help me, you always want me to do it all. It's the way we present it. I'm glad it's helpful, KTJ. It's the way we present it. So catch him on the good day. Honey, I'm really tired. I am so tired. Can you help me today? And then all the time you praying, Lord, I need you to let him see how this is affecting me, how it's wearing me down. I need you. Because the thing about a man, Deaconess, being a conqueror, he will, look, he going to go to battle for you if you doing all that and then you end up getting sick. And he been leaning on you for all that.
Yeah.
He be the first one at the ER.
Yes.
What's wrong? You okay?
Yes.
What's wrong? Be the first one running around the house with my wife in the room. Y'all need to take care of my wife. That's that possessive, controlling. I'm in charge because I really do love you.
Yes.
But I'm not going to let you take from me who I am. Because again, they don't have the cognitive ability to grasp what you're trying to say to them. So we got to do subtle things to help make them more aware, KTJ. That's what we have to do. Yeah. Catch them on the good days. Catch them on the good days. And talk. It's never a good time. A man out there tired. Like this week, Deacon, this ain't no time for no couple to talk to nobody. It's 102 degrees outside. Everybody, for a woman, that ain't no wisdom. You don't start to argue with the man had to been out there working. Look, this is not the time, okay? Women or men, I come in.
The only thing we should be doing as a couple is go and get some ice cream. Listen.
That's it, honey. You want some ice cream? Yeah. Honey, you know what? You work so hard. Thank you for working hard for us. Honey, you want some cold water? I've been here drinking water since I got off. It's hot. That's not the time. I mean, it's automatic. That's a trigger. You talking about what are you talking about? You want to talk about what I'm not doing? And I done went out here, woman, in the degrees of 102. And I work outside. I ain't in the office with air.
Yes. And Bishop, I wanted to also, we anytime I have any kind of conversations in any arena, the Bible gonna always come up. But what I'm hearing is we can't forget that a soft answer
turns away wrath.
And I am not. I have not been married. I haven't even been married 5 years, right? But I'm learning, right? Some things I'm learning through experience. I'm learning through mentors. I'm learning that Everything ain't got to be a hoorah moment.
It ain't.
Like you said, it's 102 degrees.
It's 102 degrees, and you want to start talking about what you didn't do, and this
Yeah.
needs to be picked up, and this, no. He come on, honey, sit down. No, you hot.
Yeah. And we got to remember, while we have had bad days and we got our cycles, they have them too. And you trying to talk on a day that ain't good for him. His check might have been short. He almost knocked a coworker out. They might have cut his out. We don't know all of the details of it.
Don't know.
And just and vice versa. They don't know ours. But I think a lot of times as women, we can find a common ground sometimes before they can. So just, give it a moment.
Allow him time to process. Allow him time to process.
You might get what you're looking for one shot, eat the ice cream, but give them time to calm down. It can't I'm not a marriage counselor, but I do believe that responding correctly, it absolutely helps. Prayer, it absolutely helps. Because sometimes, Kay, and this isn't your story, we automatically want to leave. We automatically want to find a way out. Because it's just like, again, we're in our 30s. So I don't feel like this. I ain't dealing with this. I can just leave. Listen, you can either leave or you can just listen. Because if you provide a safe space for him, he's going to speak. But, I think as women, we want to get it out. What I've learned, it might not be time for you to get it out just yet. You just hold on.
Wisdom.
Just hold up. And you'll get the answer you're looking for. You'll get the response you're looking for. You'll get the gift you'll get it.
Yes. Because if he feels safe with you, Deaconess, it's going to be a day after he finished processing it. Because remember, they're conquerors. Yeah. And so he's confronted with something that he feel like he can't conquer just yet. So he's trying to process it. Yeah. So once he processes it, then he'll bring it to you. And he'll start sharing. And some days you can see something weighing heavy on his mind. Yeah, but you can say, okay, honey, you want to talk today? He said, no, I want to talk about it. And it's okay. Well, I'm here whenever you're ready to talk. Yes. Because he got to feel like he has a safe space. Because remember now, men, Deaconess, got to deal with the psychosis also, being stopped, driving while black. I mean,
yes,
that's real.
Yes.
I'm dealing with, I'm going out here to work every day. The police looking at me. I haven't done anything wrong. They done killed men who haven't done anything wrong. This is in their mind. Yeah. This is in the parents' mind of grown children. We worry about my grandson, your son. You're out there driving. We worried about him. Supposed to get stopped. Something happened with him. They dealing with this because they out there. Yeah. So you got a lot of things they're dealing with. And so you have to pick and choose. You have to use wisdom. Yes. You have to create that safe space for that man to feel. Because if you create that safe space for that man, he'll come and pour out his heart and tell you everything. Stuff you didn't even know. You don't have to ask. He'll tell you. You don't have to ask him. He'll let you know. You mentioned a Proverbs verse. You mentioned the A clause and didn't mention the B clause, but it was Proverbs 14:1. Every wise woman builds her home, but a foolish one. Foolish one plucking it down with her own hands. Yes. Repeat B clause again. But a foolish one plucketh it down with her own hands. Yes. Not the devil, it's her hands. That's the Bible. And it's foolish. It's the Bible. It's the Bible. So when we wise, we got to build our homes. You got to know who you're dealing with. You can have a man that's really good and he got a good heart, honey. And he working every day. And he brings, Deaconess, I've seen some men will bring that whole check home, get away. That's a good man. Yeah. He ain't cheating on you, but yeah, he got some personality issues. He got some anger issues. Okay, we got to start praying. Yes. We got to work through that. Okay. But if you constantly creating triggers for him, you are gonna keep butting heads. Yes. And and the Bible says you foolish. Because Deaconess, the Bible just tells a man to love your wife as yourself. Yes. What the Bible says to do what? The men love your wife as yourself. And what does the Bible tell the woman to do? To build her husband. Build her home. So we got to go back to our first work, lady. Sometimes we just got to go back to the beginning. If you are a Christian, and I'm not suggesting everybody is, but if you are, you got to go back to the beginning because it's all there. And so even if you want a Christian, you may practice transcendental meditation, whatever you do. Go into a safe space with yourself and first get in touch with yourself so you can release some of your anxieties and some of your fears and some of
Yes.
the things that you may present to him. Because what are you doing? It's a trajectory. There's a transference. You're transferring the anxiety and the fear onto him. And so go into a quiet space. Go and meditate, whatever you need to do. Get quiet. Quiet your spirit down. Okay? Even if you're not a Christian, you can
Yes.
quiet your spirit down and then say, okay, God, show me. Or say to yourself, if you don't talk to God, high power, some people say, Allah, if you are of the Muslim faith,
Yes.
Jehovah, if you are of the Jewish tradition, whoever your God and whatever the God of your being is, then you say, I need some wisdom with this. I need to know how to say this, but help me not to even transfer. Because women, we got to be honest. Sometimes we transfer our anxieties onto the man.
Yes.
You know, anxious as soon as they walk in the door. Where you been? Where
Yes.
you been?
Just screaming and hollering off the.
Yes, screaming and hollering. And you know me, Deacons, I travel on the road a lot. I tell people, look, one ride take me 2 hours. Don't call me. And I'm good and mature. Don't call me. I don't feel like dealing with you. Bye.
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Because I'm tired. Because all them people on the highway, the non-drivers, the one that almost cut me off, the 2 tractor trailers almost hit me. I had prayed all the way home.
Yeah.
Look, don't call me transferring your anxieties on me. I got to come in and de-stress.
Yes.
I got to undress my spirit so I can calm my spirit down. So I don't be running around here like a lunatic and blood pressure up and all these anxieties and fears. So we got to be honest with our own selves because you can transfer these things.
Yes. Bishop, I wanted to share I love to share my testimonies when I have an audience of people, because I want people to not only be inspired, but I want to increase people's faith. And so while we having this conversation is blessing me and my household. But I want to say that there are people who watching, they either know my husband's story through me or they know my husband. Or after this, they'll go and they'll do their own research. But what I'm so grateful for is that we know who my husband used to be, right? When I'm out and I see people, or here he's out and we're together, people always say to me, and they'll say it in front of him. And if I'm alone, they'll say it to me. They will say, "You care? Wop couldn't have married a better woman. You have made him." I mean, and it's a transformation that needs to be in a book. It needs to be studied, because I know for sure that if you care, wasn't in David's life, I am concerned. It scares me to think about where he would be if I wouldn't, because here's the thing. You can be whoever you want to be, but the right woman beside you, behind you, and in front of you, it's a game changer. So men, you got to make sure you got the right partner, because
because see, daughter, when you even think about marriage is just not about two people coming together. Marriage is about ministry. Whether you're in the church or on the street. And you and David, what are you doing? You're ministering to people on the street, because what are you doing? You're bringing them hope. And the Bible says, hope thou in God, hope make him not ashamed. My expectation comes from him.
Yes.
So when they see your life, you're out there ministering to people, because you're bringing people hope. Because again, we talked about the new Jim Crow by Yvette Alexander. So many men of color is locked up. Well, people got family members who got life. People got family members who they think are never coming home. And here come this couple with this hope. And here come this couple to talk to them. We ain't got to talk about church, but of course we gonna incorporate God in there. And it was faith and it was prayer. But here you come and telling people, and here your husband come telling people, man, my wife believed in me, my wife helped me, my wife did this and that, you know. So when you do that, babe, marriage then becomes ministry. You're ministering. And the Bible says we all have the ministry of reconciliation. What are we trying to do? Reconcile people back to God. God was all about first love. Before we knew our parents or anybody else, God loved us from the foundation of the world. Okay? And so we all have a ministry of reconciliation. So when you have somebody, and this is a lot of our stories, and you know me, I'm very transparent. People, I even shared it in High Ground, and someone came to me and said, Bishop, thank you so much testifying about your son. I even said to my bishop, I said, Bishop, we don't have all the same stories. I got a story. I raised a man to be a man of God. I raised two men in the same house. One turned out differently. So it doesn't mean I didn't raise him differently. He had some adverse experiences that triggered him to something different. And so I'm very transparent about that. And so when you look at a man who's been in prison, and all of us deaconess, especially, I told him in high ground, I'm tired of cute saints. Y'all stop acting like we ain't dealing with something. Because if you don't have a child that's in prison, you got a cousin, you got day them, you got a first cousin, you got an uncle, your granddad, somebody, everybody knows somebody. Why? Because statistically it's been proven.
Yes.
Okay. And so they build and even make projections for future prisons based upon the education level of people of color. So they can find money to build bigger prisons, but they won't educate the people.
And they closing schools left and right.
Closing schools left and right. So the hope part, babe, you all minister hope. And I want to say this because I think this is critical. What people didn't understand, you and I talked extensively about this. We were sitting there and you sitting in an impoverished area, underprivileged area.
You can tell them where I was.
Well, everybody know you live in Barry Farms. I'm just using that it was because some people may watch it later. They don't know.
Yeah.
But we sat there and you said, Mom, I said, I'm going to start signing my name different. I said, what you going to sign your name on social media? You said, Mom, I'm the King's Missus. I said, babe, go ahead. I love it. I love it. Oh, boy, you about to upset some folk. We sat there and talked about it extensively. I said, you about to upset. You the King's Missus and a man in jail that got life. I said to you, I said, babe, do you know what this means? I said, you're speaking faith. You're saying this before he even come out because you didn't write that thinking you're going to marry him in prison. You wrote that he coming home. We talked extensively about that. You are a hope builder. So you and your husband, that's your ministry. You're building hope. You signed your name to King's Missus, and of course, because I was an advocate and people knew you was a goddaughter of mine, I got a lot of flack for it. You need to tell her that's so dumb. That's stupid. I said, wait a minute, you're not going to talk about her like that because you, and I used to tell him, because you don't have the faith to do it, don't criticize her. So don't come to me saying that, because if you don't have enough faith, that's faith in action. And so what you need to do is try to go and get some of that faith she got. That's what you need to do. And so the King's Missus, what happened? She really became Mrs. Wilson. So when you go out and you're ministering hope, and as you're evolving, definitely brought him favor from the Lord, because that's the Bible. He that is married, obtain the favor of the Lord. But you're administering hope, babe. And that's why when he first came home, and as you said, me and your extensive conversations, and you say, I'm done. I ain't going to talk to you because you're just going to take up for him. No, what I was really doing was trying to interject some psychological concepts, because we got to be cognitively, we got to use our cognition.
Yes.
What is happening, because somebody just walked out of prison, and I can't go sit in, look, I'm claustrophobic. I can't even take an MRI. Don't even put me in a machine for 2 Don't put me in the machine for 2 minutes. So you talking about putting me in 6x8 and telling me lights out and when I can eat? Oh, no. The trauma, the things that it does to a man's mind. And then as soon as they come out, they got somebody hollering and screaming when that's all they done heard is God screaming. Lights out. They done heard people screaming. Get in line. They done heard people. Get in the shower. Yeah. And then as soon as I come home and I'm supposed to be free, I might be free physically, but I still have a level of incarceration in my mind, and it's going to take me some time to get rid of it. It's going to take me some time to get rid of it. So I can't come home and be with somebody that's constantly badgering me and hollering at me, and because then you got button heads. Yeah. And so as you begin to evolve, and we prayed for him, I'm so proud. You ain't got to be married 5 years. Guess what? Some people been married 30 and they unhappy. So you've been married, you're making an impact in your marriage and administering hope to so many people in underprivileged, impoverished areas, so many mothers who think their son ain't never coming home, so many testaments. And this is the thing with David. He didn't just come home. He came home as an entrepreneur. He came home, put his little stuff up, and he got his business. Yes. So it gives people hope. And that's because he was married, because God chose y'all. He had the right rib. I've taught this for decades with women. God got the woman from the man's rib, babe. And when the man get the wrong rib, our rib, we have two floating at the bottom, but our ribs can get broken easily. And our ribs is what cover our major organs, our heart, our lungs. Our ribs is covered, but our lungs are in the back. But our ribs is a shield for us. So when you got somebody that's trying to fit something in, and that's not who God has for you, that man is walking around with a broken rib, trying to walk around in a lot of pain because he with somebody that don't fit him. But see, you fit David. You was the puzzle. That rib God had taken out of David from the foundation of the world. You were that piece. You were the piece of rib that fit into that socket that he needed. So then you could understand, how can I help him to optimize? Because at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Deaconess, the fifth highest is self-actualization. Yes. And self-actualization in Maslow's hierarchy of needs says, I'm being the best that I can be. And that's what you've helped your husband to do. But that's also what he's helping you to do, because you have evolved. You're being better. You're more cognitively aware of situations. And what does that mean? You got platforms like this, a podcast, that you're helping women. You're helping so many other women, because every relationship, the first thing is not to do is quit. But if harm is involved, you plan your exit.
I'm gonna put that in. I want to.
It's harm. If you are at risk, plan your exit. Don't just tell him you leaving. Reach out to the domestic violence hotline. Reach out to the domestic violence hotline. And I'm going to give you that number, Deaconess. Reach out to the domestic violence hotline and you plan your exit. Don't just walk away from that situation. Plan your exit, okay? Don't be in denial and say, oh, he ain't going to hurt me. When you see some of those things and you know that harms, and even your children may be in harm's way, because nowadays you got men committing homicide and suicide. They're killing their wives, their children, and then themselves. Okay?
And so ladies,
put this number in. Put this number in.
This is for
you are not alone. Put hashtag you are not alone.
Okay.
Hashtag you are not alone.
Hashtag
you are not alone.
Okay.
And the number is 1-800-799 and the word SAFE, SAFE. And then put in parentheses 7233. That's what SAFE is, 7233. 1-800-799-7233. So you see it listed as 1-800-799-SAFE, SAFE. You're not alone.
And the SAFE is what numbers?
7233.
Okay.
You're not alone. For anything, get help. Get help.
And I want everyone to say, if you don't need these resources, save them, because you may know somebody who will need the resources.
That's right. That's right.
Take plenty of notes. You will definitely need you. Somebody will come to you after this live. You may be tested. Somebody's going to come to you and going to need some help. And you're obligated to share this information with them. 1-800-799-SAFE.
Yes.
1-800-799-SAFE. The one thing I was thinking about when you were talking, and in order for you to build up a man, you have to be built. You do. Many women are just as broken.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And we are twice as likely to be depressed. So we're really suffering from depression. And then when you get into menopause, premenopausal, it's a psychological thing with our hormones. But I'm finding, Deaconess, I need to say this.
Okay.
I'm finding that women, let me say something to you women, because you 40-some or 50 years old, you still don't know everything. We all can learn. I've never seen so many women. I'm grown. I'm 40-something. I'm 52. And I've said to some women through the years, you know what, dear, I need you to go to the doctor, because to me, you're exhibiting some symptoms of premenopausal or perimenopausal psychologically, because to me, you're processing some things like you should. Because I know when your hormones get out of whack, and we're twice as likely to suffer from depression, you're really in a depressed state. And so you need some help, because who wants to listen to you and you always Debbie Downer?
Yes.
Everything somebody say to you, you got something negative to say. Everything somebody suggests, you got something negative to say. Look, you're so pessimistic.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look and be optimistic and look at the good. So women, when you're in premenopause or perimenopausal, go get your hormones checked. We suffer our brain the way we're wired, twice as likely to suffer from depression and Alzheimer's. Go get yourself checked and stop transferring your depression that ends up becoming severe depression. Go get some help. It's no look, I always said, Deaconess, it ain't no Superman and no superwomen. That's why Clark Kent put on his regular clothes. He didn't keep the cape on forever. Stop going and acting like you Superwoman and Superman. Clark Kent, Deaconess, only put that uniform on when it was necessary. He didn't put that cape on and have the cape on the whole entire time. He put the cape on only when it was necessary. Then he went back to being Clark Kent everyday life. You know what that was indicative of, Deaconess? That's indicative of a de-stressor. Let me go back to being normally me. I'm not this superhuman being. So women, please learn how to take counsel, because you're 40-some years old and you 50. If you're going to live to be 90 or 100, you still got almost a lifetime, still stuff to learn. I always call myself a lifelong learner. We're ever evolving. Anybody know me know I absorb. I'm a voracious reader, researcher. I always do that, probably because I'm an educator. But somebody can tell you something, Deaconess. If nobody can tell you nothing, how can you learn to be better? If nobody can give you suggestions and counsel that you accept, and I always say that about you, that's why you've excelled so. Because you've always taken counsel. You might have came kicking and screaming, Mom, I don't want to do that. I said, okay, I ain't going to argue with you. I go right home and I pray on your little butt. And you call me a couple of days later and say, Mom, I did this or that. Then I quietly talk to the Lord, thank you, Jesus. Mom, I ain't going to do it. Well, that was your personality. That wasn't your heart. And when you have people who are not mature and don't understand human interaction and human psychology, then we take things personally and you give up on people quicker than you should. When really God may have put you in those people's lives, whether it's an amorous relationship or an amorous relationship. God put you in the people's lives for a purpose, to help change their life, because God knows you have the capacity. You have the capacity to help build them up.
Yeah.
So that they can become their best, so they can achieve hierarchy on Maslow's chart of self-actualization. I'm going to be the best I can be. It may not be what you are. I may not be an author. I may not be a PhD. Yeah. I may not be all of that, but it's the best I can be. And let me say this to you women, even with men, and I know we're supposed to be segueing to the church thing. Maybe we'll have to do that another time. But don't compare your man to other men. Because your man's best, and he's already suffered, remember, adverse childhood experiences. He's already come through being a survivor, living in an underprivileged, underserved, untreated, everything area. He's already survived prison sentences. He's already survived neglect and abuse. But now he got a job, and he may not be making 40 and 50 an hour, but he's going to make an honest living. He ain't out there no longer committing crime. And he making $15, $20 an hour. You make it work. You celebrate him, because now he's being the best he can be. You encourage him. You know what, babe? I think this is good. This is great. This is wonderful. And like I say, wisdom, Deaconess, as hot as it's been, ain't nobody arguing nobody as hot as it is. Come on. Ain't nobody trying to come home and out of work, and people done tried to emaciate me and talk to me less than a man, and now I got to come home and listen to you. Get out of my face. He may turn around and walk back out the door. And if you remember, Deaconess, that's what happened. You know, me and you, when we watch movies, look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
That's what happened with Power.
Yeah.
Tasha was constantly, now I'm not saying it's her fault because he cheated, but again, we got to take accountability. He's trying to get affirmation from her because she was his real friend, he felt, when she was willing to take that charge for him. But now he wants to get out of the life. And as opposed to her, that's what really won him over with Angie. Because Angie always affirmed his vision. And men, if they the head, they're going to be visionaries. They're looking ahead. I need to conquer. I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to figure out how to do it. Well, Ghost in his mind, he's trying to figure out, I relied so much on this illicit business. How am I going to get out of this? I want out of this. I don't want to stay in this life. I don't want my children to be in this life. So what happens? Every time you come home, Ghost, where you been? Ghost, what you doing?
Yeah.
He opens the club. He's trying to build not just one club. He's trying to build a chain of clubs. And as opposed to her going out there and looking at other property. You know what, babe? I saw some other property. Once we do good here, we might can do this. And Tariq, when he grow up, this is how we're confirming them, right? Instead, she says, why you got to stay here? Come on, baby. Let's go home. What? What? Because at this point, the SEX wasn't on his mind. At this point, Deaconess, he's trying to get out of this life.
Yeah.
He's trying to get out of what he's dealing with. He's trying to build a better way of life for his family. So he needs the affirmation. So what do? He fall in love with Angie. And they ain't trying to find a way to get away from her. He's trying to find a way to get away from Tasha.
Yeah.
And she said, I feel betrayed. But Tasha, you got to take accountability. Remember this, Deaconess, and we're going to move to the next thing before we close. But remember this, her mother, again, women, you don't know everything. Her mother tried to give her wise counsel. She said, Tasha, this man been trying to come back home. This man, Tasha, it's certain things he can't do with illegal money. The mother was trying to get her, Deaconess, to think about what she's doing instead of always hollering and screaming at her man and trying to have her way and want to be in the bed. Let's be honest, Deaconess, that picture shows, it's a true depiction of what is happening in America nowadays. Women more concerned with wearing designer clothes, being on the top, showing they got the best weave, showing pictures they in the mall. I don't need to see you, baby, in the bathroom at Neiman's. I don't care. I don't care. And so you're so concerned about buying up, but you got to build your man. You got to, honey, what is your vision? What? And it's like I say to my students, I would always say to my students, when I first get students, write down from Ms. Webb, what is your 2-year goal? What is your 5-year goal? What is even your 10-year goal? Because I want to see where you're going to see yourself 10 years from now. Because what am I doing? I'm helping you to build the blocks to get there.
Yes.
So when your husband is a conqueror, he's the lion, he's the conqueror, he's the man. He got to feel like he can conquer things. He don't need you making him feel like, nah, I don't know about that, babe. You're supposed to make that man feel like you do anything. And even if you then got to go to God and talk, say, God, I don't know about that. That Lord, please give my man the wisdom how to do it. God, that's a little far-fetched. I don't know how to do that. But that's what we did with your husband. It seemed far-fetched and he would get out pretty, but me and you prayed and I talked. I said, babe, we believe God. I don't care what they say because it's God that will touch the heart of the judges. It's God that will touch the hearts. And this man is out walking the street free and married.
Out walking the street free, married to business.
Entrepreneur and married. So women, when you think about, and I want to give you a recap, because when you think about with men, they're wired different neuropsychologically. That's a fact. That's not them. That's how God made them. So they 3 times as more likely. Their brain 10% bigger than ours. They're 3 times more likely to have antisocial personality disorder. And so when you couple that with adverse childhood experiences, people telling them you aren't going to be anything, people been neglecting them. They see a lot of trauma in their life. They grow up with alcoholics because unfortunately for us as people of color, a lot of us from the 60s and what our families were suffering with racism, with not getting paid the right money, with being even coming back with Agent Orange from Vietnam, forced to go and serve, okay? So a lot of them came back from Vietnam. They were junkies. They came back and they were hooked on heroin. They came back and to deal with all the trauma, they became alcoholics. So that became perpetual because we were untreated. We weren't getting treated. All of these going from generation to generation. And then you're living in areas where you're impoverished, you're underprivileged, lights out, rats, roaches, not enough food, all of this stuff. It's in their hippocampus. It's in their memory, all this stuff. Now they get grown. They get a family. They're trying to battle through a lot of this. Even men who've grown up and maybe a little more better circumstance. It doesn't mean, Deaconess, and we shouldn't get that. It's a misnomer because a lot of people can be abused and neglected in a household that's financially secure because it happens in those homes as well. But of course, we're talking about it happens even more prevalent when you're in underprivileged and impoverished areas. And so now he's gotten older and he got all this stuff he's trying to process and reprocess and decompensate and come through some stuff and trying to get to his vision and trying to do what he envisioned when he was a child. Deaconess, don't nobody as a child, you ask them what they want to be, they say a drug addict. Don't nobody as a child say what you want to be, a criminal. Everybody got vision, everybody got dreams. And so some of them, because of the circumstances they found themselves in life, now they're trying to do better. They're better men, especially men that come into church, men of God. God changed their life. Don't be the trigger that re-traumatizes him. Mm-hmm. Get you some wisdom. Proverbs 14:1, every wise woman building her home, a foolish one plucketh it down with her own hands. It ain't the devil. It ain't the devil. So you got to learn. Be swift to hear. Swift to hear. Slow to speak. Choose your words wisely because words carry spirits. And when we put them out there, deacons, you can't take it back. When you wound somebody's spirit because of what you said,
yeah,
men that had to listen, you ain't gonna never be nothing. You just like your side daddy. Really, that's the women I said earlier. That's a projection. That's a transference because that's your anger that now you place on that child. Because as we know, deaconess, and you alluded to with your father, children still gonna love their daddies. He can be the sorriest thing on earth. He show up, oh, here go my daddy. So we have to be aware. Cognition is important. And so when we take all of these things in consideration, deaconess, when we take all these things into consideration, now we can make some informed decisions.
Yes.
Now we can change the way we deal with things. And guess what? Women as nurturers, we got to raise sons, deaconess. Mm-hmm. We got to raise sons that got to be husbands. We got to raise our children. We got to raise girls that know how to respond to the men. Mm-hmm. And we're not being a doormat because we're using wisdom. Girl, please. We're using our power. We're using our authority. We're learning how to build these men so when they come down, they can feel like they got a safe space. I don't care how ridiculous it sounds. Honey, you can share your dreams with me.
Yes.
Then you say to them, I believe in you, honey. I believe you can do it. Yeah. I believe you can do it. Okay, just let me know what your plan and where I fit in your plan and what you want me to do and how can I help you. And even in the meantime, just like you did, David was in prison. You was at home. I watched you. Even before you had a laptop, you was doing it on your phone, doing research, what he could do, how we gonna get his business started, looking up starting the LLCs and all that.
I was building Davis credit while he was in jail in his own name. I ordered him a credit card.
I was getting ready to say he's building his credit. You was talking to him about taking all these classes in prison. What are you doing? You're preparing for your future because you saw this man home. And no relationship, deacon, is perfect. You got two imperfect human beings. I tell people all the time, they say, well, she ain't married. I tell you what, you need to stop reading the Bible about marriage because the man that wrote the book on marriage was single. Paul was single. And this is where we take a lot of the tenets of marriage from and what he said. He was single. And you know why he could say it? Because it was God ordained. Mm-hmm. So you got to talk to people who talk to God. And if you talk to people who talk to God, of course, if somebody's married, they can give you more intimate information. But Paul gave us the basis of how you're going to make marriage successful because God gave it to him. That's the wisdom of God. So don't let people talk you against talking to people. I've counseled married couples for years. Some of them people of prominence, people wouldn't know. Some of them bishops. I have counseled people for years. And so it's the wisdom of God. God gave me the wisdom. I didn't know how to do it. God gave it to me. Why? Because I'm looking at all these factors. I'm looking at what God is telling me. Because you know what, deaconess? We got to look at the whole man, spirit, soul, and body. Not just actions so we can react. It's easy for anybody to react to an action. And we need to learn how to stop being so reactionary. But start critically thinking and looking, examining when you're in relationships. What did I do? Or what happened to them? Why they're behaving like this? What did I trigger in them? All I said was that's and so. But then you got to say, okay, God, show me, what did I trigger in them? Something triggered. Because that didn't, look, that should have given me that response. That wasn't that deep. That's when you know you triggered something. So you got to use wisdom. And men need to know it's not a shame to say, I'm overwhelmed. I need some help. I need to talk to a therapist. I feel like I'm a failure, or I feel like I'm not where I should be in life, or I feel like I'm not doing what I'm really trying to accomplish and nobody wants to help me, don't be no victim. You're not a victim.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a victim. You look at your situation, you talk it over with your spouse, you pray about it. If you're a man of God, they know how to pray. If you're a man of God that's a Muslim, they pray 5 times a day.
Yes, they do.
You're a man of God, or you of the Jewish tradition, you know how to talk to Jehovah. Then you talk to your higher power, if that's what you may call them.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, I need you to help me as a man. I know I'm a man. I'm not less than a man. But I need you to help me, God, because I'm trying to realize my dreams. I want to do better for my family. I want to create a better environment for my family. I want to leave a legacy for my family.
Mm-hmm.
You told me I supposed to leave an inheritance for my children, my children's children. Help me, God. Show me how to get there. And the women, then it's your job to use your wisdom to help this man get to where he needs to go so you all can leave your children a legacy, a heritage. And not just only financially, because sometimes they'll go through the money. That's why King Solomon said, who knows? You leave them everything and they'll just run through it.
Yeah.
But leave them the heritage, deaconess, and the legacy of learning how to integrate life, learning how to cope, learning how to deal, that they don't end up depressed, that they don't end up suicidal, homicidal. You know, we had a situation a couple of days ago. I read the great boxer, Ray Jones. I don't know if you know Ray Jones, but Ray Jones was a great boxer in his time. His son just committed suicide. We know Ray Lewis' son, they said he committed suicide a year or so ago. So even those kids that are under pressure, that's living in better financial situations, because of all the things that go on in their lives, they have pressures as well. So let us remember that. Don't trigger and re-traumatize people.
This was good, Bishop. And um I've been taught that sometimes, you know, everything has already been said, right? So I don't have anything to follow up with that. I would encourage everyone, if you came on late, go back, watch the replay. I see the chat. This is important. This is helping me. This is a blessing. And Bishop, I know that we did this, with respect to Men's Mental Health Month, but I think that we got to do this more often. I'm looking at the feedback. I'm looking at the dialogue. So many people want to be whole. So many people are
Yes.
looking for help. And so many people are looking for wise counsel.
Well, I guess
And
I better open up shop, huh? I guess I better open up shop.
yeah, you're gonna have to open up shop, because and whether shop is gonna be open virtual, or you're gonna have to open up shop, because what we do know, and you and I, we speak about this a lot, the dispensation of what church was at one point, we may never see that. So people are leaving the physical building of the church, right?
Mhm.
And people are not feeling safe, where they can speak to somebody about these things. Is I don't want to tell, I don't want, and so this is necessary.
Necessary.
This was
And
the blessing for
maybe
me.
we will set up something. You and I will talk, and we'll open up something and charge a nominal registration fee. Okay, Randy, I'm gonna open up shop, and we'll charge a nominal registration fee. And sometimes we'll just get with the women.
Yeah.
We'll get
Even
with the
if we
women.
do it, and you've done your retreats and stuff. I don't know if it will be a day's workshop, but I think women need this,
We do. We do. Well,
women.
I've been planning a 2-day, getting away for 2 days with just women, and we're dealing with some things like this. And let's have some candid conversation, and let's give some information. And so I've been working on that, and I'm going to tell you women more about that. And once I do it, you can post it. But we need to be better educated.
Yes.
And so once we're better educated, okay, Jasmine, thank you so good. Thank you so much. We need to be better educated. But I love educating. Some people are stingy with it. Let's educate so we can make everything better. Let's educate people, and let's help us get healed. Let's help us get whole.
Yes.
Nobody wants to keep walking
Yes.
around wounded.
Yes.
Nobody wants to do that.
Yes.
So, babe,
Yes.
I'm going to let you know about that. I've been actively working on a 2-day conference, and it's dealing with healing the wounded. It's dealing with that.
Okay.
So I've been working on that. So I'm gonna let you know. Me and you'll talk offline, and then once I get everything together and post it in the venue, and the women can register, and let's come and talk.
Yeah. So ladies, I want you to definitely be on the lookout for that. We're going to do something for the men as well, because listen,
Yes,
this is for everybody. um
everybody.
Bishop is she's a natural at this, right? Priscilla commented, "You're doing good for yourself." Thank you, Ma.
Yes, she is.
Bishop is so astute in so many areas, but this is why it is important that you get you. You have to get you. And you have to have a Ruth and a Naomi relationship. You gonna go read the Bible. I'm not gonna get into what all that is. Go and Google, put Ruth and Naomi's relationship. It'll tell you all about it. But this is why it is important, because she's helping me develop in a lot of areas, spiritually. Um, I assist her, and she's like, "Daughter, what that mean? I don't know what that mean. That's new slang. What is this? I don't know." You
I
know,
don't know all this. I don't know all this language. I'll text you in a minute,
we
babe. What
be,
is
we
this?
be like, "Babe,
What
what
are
is
they
that?"
talking about? What are they talking about? I
Yes,
don't know.
yes. So, Bishop, I want to say thank you again for spending 2 hours with me.
Thank you.
It's I mean, this is awesome. I'm expecting the feedback. I'll definitely share with you.
Yeah,
Um,
because I can't see it.
so-
Uh-huh.
oh, you can't see. Okay, so I'll share a lot of feedback with you. Let them know where they can find you on Sundays. Let them know where they can find you on Facebook. And how can they follow you?
Okay, beloved, you can go to Facebook, 2 pages. I have DK Webb Ministries page, and we're trying to start getting people to go more to my ministry page. But on Facebook, I'm Deborah Webb, and you'll see my picture there. You can go to my website, dkwebglobal.org. We would love to hear from you. Go to my website, dkwebglobal.org, and you'll see the things that we're doing there. dkwebglobal.org. I even have there our church, Living Rivers, on my website. Living Rivers, we're located at 1800 Hazelwood Drive, where my son serves as the senior pastor. 1800 Hazelwood Drive. It's a fresh startup church. We're helping him build a new church. And we start at 2 o'clock, so we have late church. And as you know, deacons always say to people, God can handle your weed smoking, your drinking, and all of that. So we don't judge people. You can come, of course, 2 o'clock. You hang out late on Saturday, but still feel like you need to go to church. Drop by and see us. 2 o'clock p.m. We're on the second floor there on 1800 Hazelwood Drive. But I would love for you to go to my website, dkwebglobal.org, because you also see that Deacon is my organization where I'm the presiding prelate of Eternal Excellency Kingdom Ministries. And so we're doing a lot of work in India and Africa. We built orphanages there in India. We're going to take a mission trip next year. So I would love for you to stay abreast with that, because some of you may want to go with us on our mission trip to India. We're going there. We started a college there. I believe in educating, because in order to empower people, deaconess, we need to educate them. Then they can make their money and change their lives. And so we created a college there, and we're teaching them a Bible college. And we have a home for widows and orphans. God said we should take care of widows and orphans. And so go to my website and see the great things that are happening there. And you can click on Living Rivers. You can click on my website. When you click on my website, you'll see Living Rivers, and you'll also see Eternal Excellency Kingdom Ministries. But when you go to DK Web Global, you see everything there about me and the things that I believe and what we're doing, because I'm here to inform you, to empower you. Okay, that's what we do. We inform, we empower. And so we need information. Information makes a difference.
Yes. Thank you, Bishop. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Get some
And to your
rest.
listeners, God bless
Yes,
you.
thank you so
Keep
much.
us in
We
prayer.
will definitely be in touch, but we will be doing this again. I'll be sharing feedback back and forth.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Rick. Her son is in the comments where he is the pastor, building his church, and many of you are unchurched. Tap in dkwebglobal.org. You need some kind of church.
Yeah.
You need somebody in your life that can listen. If I talk, we'll be here another hour. Listen, you need church. You need somebody that can fight for you when you can't fight for yourself.
Yes.
I'm talking about in the physical and in the spiritual. And on
Yeah.
that note, on that
Before
note,
we close in prayer, deaconess, that we can close in prayer, Pastor B has put there our church website as well, the livingrivers.org. And I want to close in prayer. I want to cover them in prayer tonight. For all of those who have listened, we thank God for you, and thank God for you, deaconess, for having the all right, my bishop mother friend. That's my former student. I taught her 30 some years ago. And so I want to cover them in prayer. And we want to cover you in prayer, women and men both. Amen. And we're glad and we're thankful that we could be a helping deaconess. We want to say thank you for having the guts, the grit, the gall to even tackle a subject like this, because a lot of people don't want to talk about it. So let us close in prayer. Gracious God, our Father, Master, we thank you for all that our ears have heard and our candid, very direct conversation that we've had with your people as we've shared with them what you've given unto me, according to the wisdom and the knowledge and the skills that you've given unto me, God. And so now we pray, as you've used Deaconess Yukil Wilson and her platform, we pray you continue to bless her, that she can impact lives on this podcast, Speak Well. But we pray tonight, God, that everything that the people have heard, help them to process it. Help them to utilize the information that is beneficial to them. Help them, God, to begin to start somewhere with the change in their lives. Help them, God, with their cognition, being more aware of who they are and where they are and changes they need to make in their lives and the psychological impact that they have had on others. God, help them to reverse some things that need to be reversed, but build upon some things that need to be built upon. Help us all to be better, God. We want to be better. We want to be better, God, vessels of honor and not of dishonor. And we thank you for it now. Keep all of us safe, even in all these relationships that are having challenges and things are going on, God. Let no hurt and harm come to these relationships, but give them wisdom to seek out wise counsel and to seek help, God, and to follow the counsel. And we thank you for it now that a life has been saved tonight. We thank you tonight, God, that a life has been empowered tonight. We thank you tonight, God, for all you're doing for us. Continue to do it for your glory. Cover us in your blood. Keep our families. Keep Deaconess family. Keep my family, God, as we come out and we know everybody's not happy about discussing something like this, God. Biting the hands of the enemy that will try to come against us for trying to help people and empower people and educate people. Cover us in your blood. Let your angels be encamped round about us. Keep us until we meet again. We thank you. We love you. And we call it done. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen and amen.
Amen. Amen. Love you,
Amen.
Bishop. Thank you
Love
so much.
you.
I'll
You're
talk to you
welcome.
soon. You all have
All
a
right.
good night.
Good night.